Okay, good afternoon. My name is Debbie Gravel, and I am here with Andrew Lorelei, and we're going to be presenting Build a Strong Resume in Times of Uncertainty. So welcome, and we will get started. So first, I just wanted to introduce you to our team. Michelle Shear is our support person, and Barazmi is also one of our support people. My name is Dr. Debbie Gravel, and I'm the coordinator/director for career services. And with us today is Andrew Lorelei. He is our graduate intern from CLU. And we also have a student assistant, Karina. So that is our team at this time. So we're going to get started. So let's get started with what is a resume. So resume basically is an introduction to an employer for an interview. So what that means is the resume is going to get you, hopefully get you a position to interview. It's not going to get you a position for a job. It's more or less an introduction, just like a business card, but it's obviously a little bit longer than a business card to introduce yourself to an employer to see if you meet the basic qualifications to schedule an interview. So you need to customize the resume for the position. And what that means is you're going to have more than one copy of your resume. You'll have a general resume that you might want to put on the internet or on social media for general purposes, but you want to customize your resume when you're applying for a specific position. So step one is know yourself. Again, you need to know how to target your resume to the company you're applying for. And what that means is you want to look at the position description and be able to provide some of the skills and qualifications in that position description to your resume. So first thing that you want to do is create an inventory of your skills and accomplishments. And that would include your education, your goals, and primarily your experience, your work experience. And what that means is you want to provide any and all work experience that you have and including listing your skills and qualifications as it relates to the position. And there is a worksheet that we have on our website that it's a worksheet that will help you flesh out this information if you have never created a resume before. So some of the things that you want to include is your skills, desired qualifications, as well as you want to be sure to include your education and work as it's listed as a requirement for the position, as well as key values and job duties. So what that means is you want to really look at the qualifications for the position description and be sure that you have those and that you can list them on your resume. If you don't have those, then it probably isn't wise to apply for a position when you don't meet the minimum qualifications, because most likely you won't make it through the first screening. So there's different structures of resume. The one that we're going to be concentrating on today is a reverse chronological resume. That's the one that most employers are most familiar with and really like looking at. But again, if you have maybe you don't have a lot of skills and qualifications yet, you've just graduated, you might want to do something more like a combination or a functional resume. And those examples are on our website as well. But today we're going to be concentrating on a chronological because that is the one that employers most like to look at. It's the easiest for them to read. So you want to be sure and include attributes. And this is a list of attributes that employers seek and look at, and it's rated. And also this is on our website as well if you, because it's a fairly long list and kind of hard to see here. But you can download this from our website as well. But I wanted to point out the top 5, which is leadership. So employers look for leadership. They rated that as 80%. Most 80% of employers felt like leadership was an important attribute. Ability to work in a team, communication skills, written, problem-solving skills, and communication skills, verbal. So those are some key attributes that employers look for when they're looking at a resume. So let's talk about some components of a resume. First of all, you want to have your header, and what the header is your name and contact information, a summary of qualifications, and that's not necessarily required. That's an optional feature. And again, summary of qualifications might be good if you don't have a lot of experience and your qualifications or your skills or primarily have been gained through maybe coursework or some classes. That's when you would want to list those. Otherwise, if you have a lot of work experience, you don't really need to include the summary of qualifications. Your education will come next. And again, your education is really important if you've just obtained a degree. Again, as you gain maybe 5 or 6 years of experience, the education might work its way down to the bottom of your resume. And then your work history and most current, what's called a reverse chronological would be your most current position or your current position listed first and working your way back. And then volunteer experience, that can be a separate section or in the work section. And then any professional involvement and development with regards to clubs or organizations as it relates to the position. If you belong to, say, a club, an art club or something, and you're not applying for, say, an artist type of position, I wouldn't include that on your resume. So again, you have your heading first, and then objective, which is optional, summary of qualifications, that is optional as well, education and experience. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. So what you want to include is your name, and you don't want to list your full address. This is something that recently, just with social media and the internet, it's not really a good idea to list your home address. You can list your city and state and zip code, but you don't need to write your exact address, street, and address number. And when you get hired for the position, you can provide that information, but it's not necessary to provide it here. You definitely want to include your email and your telephone number, and the best place to be contacted. So you want to be sure not to include things like your social security number or a picture. This is not the appropriate place to put this type of information. Keep in mind that your resume is 1 page for every 10 years of experience. So you really want to utilize the space on the 1 page wisely. And there really isn't a need for pictures here. Also, social security, you never want to give your social security number, especially through social media or something that's online. When you're filling out the job application, when you've been hired, that's a place where they would ask for your social security number, but you certainly don't need to have it in print everywhere. Again, the objective is optional and should consist of one or two short sentences. So you don't want to take up a lot of room again with an objective. And the objective should be specific to the type of position that you were applying for. So I think in general, if you're applying for a specific position, obviously the employer is going to know that, when you're filling out the application and turning in your resume, that this is the position you're applying for. But if you have a general resume, that's where you might want to have a 1 or 2 line objective. So you don't want to use generalized statements or flowery language, and don't focus only on what the company can do for you. So here's an example of what an objective might look like. So something that you don't want to say is to gain a position where I can be an asset to my employer and grow as an individual. So that's a little too general. You want to be more specific, like to gain a position as a medical secretary. And again, if you're applying at Kaiser Permanente, then you could put that. But if you weren't applying at a specific position, you could just say to gain a position as a medical secretary in the medical field. And your summary of qualifications would look something like this, where you would show your years of experience, knowledge of current social networking trends regarding Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Because these are things that might not necessarily appear in your experience section, because your experience section for each job is only going to have 3 to 4 bullet statements. So if you have some other qualifications that you feel might apply across the board, this is where you would put it. Social media is always a plus for anything. I would say something like Microsoft Office Suite would be another one. Good verbal and written communication skills, all of these things, kind of the attributes, the top rated attributes that we showed earlier, those are things that you might want to provide in your summary of qualifications. And this is what it would look like on your resume. So if you see at the top, you have your section heading, and then you have your summary of qualifications with 3 bullets. And again, you don't want to take up too many bullet statements here, because you want to save the, I would say 60 to 70% of this page for your experience.
All right,
Education is going to look like this, where you would have the name of the institution, Ventura College, include the city and state in that part. So you would say Ventura College, Ventura, California. The name of the major and degree, you want to look that up in the catalog and be sure that you are putting down the exact title of the degree, Associate of Arts or Associate of Sciences, and then the title of that degree. And again, you would list your degrees in reverse chronological order, most current, obtained at the top, and then working your way down. If you're applying for a position, say where you're in the middle of your degree and you haven't quite graduated yet, instead of putting the date of graduation, you could put expected graduation date and then the month and the year. You do not need to put the specific day. You want to list your GPA if it's above a 3.0.
All right, y'all, I'll be taking control of this, moving a little forward. So this is the big one, right? Experience. And then we all have the question of what counts as experience. You start looking through your work experience and like, okay, well, how do I emphasize it? How do I quantify it? And how do I expand on it? And this is something we sometimes see a lot when people come to us. They want to know, everyone comes and says, well, I don't have any experience. And the truth is you do. And so it's just a question of how to write it, how to quantify it, how to emphasize it, and how to format it. Here it is. Whether regarding your employment, your internships, organizations you've belonged to, what you volunteered, whenever you've done community service, all of that counts as experience. It just becomes a question of how do you apply it and how do you write it on a resume so that a potential employer will go, oh, this is the person for us. And so quantifying experience, what does that mean? Basically, it's getting you away from generalities and vague statements. So you would say, in this example, you were a supervisor, but how many people did you supervise? How many reports? Or what did you accomplish? And so, for example, if you had a position where you demonstrated improvement with a department, be it your sales department, how did you improve? That's where you have to now quantify it. You improved sales by how much? You can't leave it simple. You can't simply say, I improved sales. And again, bringing it back to formatting, just like this. And we're gonna get to some examples, some completed resumes for you to see at the end, but this is it. And I think you'll start to notice there's a bit of a trend here. You're just writing to a genre convention. And so you have your experience, how long you did it, you have your accomplishments, and you follow these same kind of bulleted points here. And you want to fill those out with accomplishment statements. And again, getting away from vague and getting precise. And we have this helpful little guide for you here. Action, verb, project, result, accomplishment. And action verbs. And I sometimes see folks getting a little concerned about this one. This is where your thesaurus and Google are helpful. You don't have to rewrite the book. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Whenever you need help just developing that vocabulary, you're allowed to look things up. You're also allowed to refer to the job ad itself. If it's applicable, if you can say at a job app, if you can look at a job ad and say, oh, I have done that, you're allowed to reuse words from job ads. And I realize that seems counterintuitive. We're trained throughout our education, don't plagiarize. This isn't plagiarism. This is you telling an employer, I have what you want, and you want them to see that you have what they want. So you're allowed to reuse words from a job ad to come up with your vocabulary for writing your accomplishment statements. So getting away from vague terms, and becoming precise using the vocabulary of the ad itself. Kind of rounding our way back to volunteer experiences and activities. So for example, if you ever worked at the Boys and Girls Club, if you volunteered for your church in some capacity, include it if it's relevant. And here we have some helpful examples: public service, volunteering, school clubs, leadership experience, peer tutoring, school newspaper, Greek life, for those of you interested in transferring, debate teams. All of this counts. And here's some kind of final do's and don'ts. You always want to tailor it for the position. You want to emphasize the sections. You want to use action verbs. You want to quantify accomplishments. Use the technical language you see in the ad. And this is where your English composition class will serve you well if you have taken it, and I advise you to take it when you do move through your Ventura College career. Proofread multiple times. Your professors were right about this one. Proofread, proofread, proofread. It shows that you care. It shows that you have an attention to detail. And you'll see that in job applications, in job ads. They're looking for attention to detail. Spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, those stick out. So for example, you say that you have an eye for detail, but you missed a typo, people will see it, people will notice it. So proofread, I can't stress this one enough. Do not use acronyms. Start getting tied down in jargon, start getting tied down in language that isn't going to translate. It's not going to be your friend. And this is the biggest one right here. Do not use templates or resume writing software. This trips folks up. We go looking for templates. They end up shackling us. They stifle your creativity. They basically push you into a corner. And I've seen so many people I've seen people essentially leave their skills and accomplishments that they had trying to conform to a template, because the template seems like it's going to be a roadmap, but it'll hold you back. And we're going to show you a solid example. Do not ever lie or exaggerate. Let's say, for example, you do get to the interview and you do manage to get the job. You exaggerated and lied on a resume, and now you're in a position where you can't perform the duties that you said you could. You're going to be in bigger trouble than if you had not gotten the job. Don't ever lie. Don't ever exaggerate. Tell the truth always. And then the next one, fancy and unusual fonts. This kind of brings us back to templates. Times New Roman, clear, plain language. Again, your English comp class is valuable here. MLA, APA formats, those kind of fonts, those are your friends. When it comes to personal information, we've already kind of covered this, but again, don't get too personal. This is strictly about your work experience and your accomplishments. Next up is a helpful little example. Dr. Gravel, we have plenty of examples available on our website, yes?
Yes, we do.
So,
and if they need more, you feel free to contact us and we can send you more if you want something more specific to the industry you're seeking employment in.
But this is a pretty general example. And it's obvious, it's plain. When you're looking at this, you can see the accomplishments, you can see the education, you can see the summary, the objective. There it all is. It's not hidden by a template. It's not hidden by confusing fonts. It's straight to business. Up next is another example. And this is pretty standard fare here. This is more or less what you want it to look like. And the formats, again, they follow a genre convention. They don't always look the same, but this is a very solid guide here. And the reason that that I've been emphasizing format, the reason we've been emphasizing all of this is because HR departments make extensive use of applicant tracking systems. This is essentially when you email off your resume to a company, they have a piece of software that's going to look at it, and they're going to look at it for basically 6 seconds. And it'll determine that quickly whether or not you are a viable candidate. So it has to be pristine, it has to be precise, because machines are taking control of a lot of HR departments. And to kind of emphasize that, I really want to finish with a particular activity. Stand by, friends. All right, Dr. Gravel, can you see the activity?
Yes, I can.
Brilliant. So this is going to be a 6-second challenge for the room. We're going to see some resumes, and you are going to have you're going to have precisely 6 seconds to determine whether or not it works. So, and I think it'll give you a good taste of what you're up against out there. I'm going to invite anybody who feels compelled to unmute themselves. Just having looked at that one, do we keep it or do we drop it?
Drop it.
Drop it. Are we keeping it or dropping it, y'all?
Keep it.
Keep it. Thank you.
Keep it.
Keep it. Don't be scared. Don't be shy.
Keep it.
Keep it. Thank you. I'm feeling like keeping this one. How about y'all?
Yeah.
Keep it. Y'all are so shy.
Let's say keep it.
Terrific. I'm going to decide on the next one. I'm going to say drop this one. Anybody want to fight me on that one?
Why do you consider dropping it, if you don't mind me asking?
Part of it, for me, I want to say drop it because of the structure, because of the format. I also didn't care for the way, I didn't care for the different colors. I didn't care for the way it flowed. It made me think, nope, not a good look.
Gotcha. Okay.
But do you want to keep it? We're going to, as a group, we're going to be evaluated how we did as an HR manager here. Are you saying keep it?
Well, I didn't know if I just wanted to know the specific reasons why you felt. I mean, I agree. It looked more, I don't know. I guess, yeah, drop it.
I'm saying keep this one. Thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah. What's it going to be?
Keep it.
All right, very last one.
Drop it.
Ooh, we have a little bit of improvement to do, friends. But point remains, you have that much time to decide. Excuse me, they are going to decide in that much time. Hence why we're stressing format, hence why we're stressing precision. And so as we leave you today, this is where I really want to emphasize resume writing is never really done. It is a living document. As Dr. Gravel said at the top, you're going to have your general resume and you're going to be making updates. You're going to be tailoring it. You're going to be revisiting this document, and we are here to help you do that. It's never the end, and we're here to help. Dr. Gravel, do we have time for questions or do we have to move on?
No, we can do questions.
All right, then let's open the floor up.
If you have any, I know we didn't get a chance to look at why we would keep or drop things. We'd be happy to send you that link so that you can look back at those resume samples and see why some of them were keep and some of them were drop more specifically. And if there's no questions, then we will end this session. I'm going to stop recording. And thank you all for coming today.